Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live, where I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time again. It is time for Wednesday. Yeah, CP is doing great today. Wednesday's edition of My CP Does Not Define Me. Today is August the 25th, 2021, and we are on episode 63. Now, you will notice right off the bat that I am all by myself, but that's okay because sometimes things happen that we can't control. Hopefully, Kyle will be able to join us later. He actually got a new job and is doing some things for work, so it's kind of holding him up a little bit, and he may be able to make it today. He may not. So I am winging it on my own today. Now, what we are talking about, and one of the things we're going to go over, as you saw on the flyer early this morning that I had put out, is disability etiquette. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Josh. How are you? Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. As I go through this, please feel free to ask any questions and comment, on anything. Because audience participation would be greatly appreciated in this. We are live on www.letgoradio.net, and we are, hey, Nikki, how are you? And we also are live on Facebook. I also will be putting this episode up on YouTube on My CP Does Not Define Me, just like I do with all of my other episodes. So feel free to ask any questions that you wish. Now, today we're going to talk about disability etiquette. Now, this is a rather big topic, okay? I want to kind of break this down into a couple of parts as we go through this hour's show. Okay, my first topic that I want to bring this in. Hey, Sean, how are you? Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, welcome everybody to the show. Thank y'all for being here. The first topic about disability etiquette is don't assume. Okay? The reason I say that is because assumptions, there's a phrase that I can't say on the air, but I'll clean it up. Basically, assumptions make a butt of you and me, okay? But you put the other word for butt in there, you get where I'm going, all right? So honestly, where we're going here with this is you can't automatically assume. And one of the things I get, and this is a common assumption, okay, and it's not necessarily wrong, but it can be. It can be kind of different, and it can kind of. I want to set the jagged edge, if you will. Yes, Cindy, it's the first time I've been by myself in a while, but we're gonna go with it. And I'm gonna be all right. When you see a person that is in a wheelchair or in a adaptive device, please don't assume that they have been in a car wreck or a vehicular accident. Although it may be that they are or were, the best thing to do is to ask. And if you want to ask, come right out and but don't just go up to the person and say, "Hey, why are you in a wheelchair?" Introduce yourself, say your name, make a bridge of conversation with the person first before you just automatically get into their disability. Hi, my name is so and so. I noticed that you were sitting over here, and I wanted to ask you this question, but I didn't know how to do it. Why would you mind explaining to me why you're in a wheelchair? That's a bridge gapper right there, but give them time to answer. Hey, Tiffany, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I look at this question, and when a person comes up and asks another person that is in a medical device or in a wheelchair, if you come up and you go, "Hey, why are you in a chair?" That's a way you can ask, okay, and that's a way that you want to ask something. But instead of doing it that way, introduce yourself first. If you're a person coming up and wanting to talk to somebody, hi, my name is so and so. I saw you sitting over here. I have a question, and I don't want to come off as rude or disrespectful, but would you mind explaining to me why you're in a wheelchair? I'd like to know. That kind of makes it easier to answer a question like that instead of just coming right out and being so abrupt with it, because it can come off as rude or disconcerting if you do it that way. So you want to try to keep the assumptions to a minimum. Now, there are all types of disabilities in the world. um I just no problem, Nikki. I totally get you. I don't want people to think that just because we're in a wheelchair, or you see someone in a wheelchair, it doesn't mean that we cannot communicate. Okay, I want to go through this, and a lot of people automatically assume that if a person is in a wheelchair, they automatically have a mental disability or something is wrong with them mentally. And I want to go through, and I want to say that right there is one of the biggest assumptions that can get you in the most trouble, because that can offend people in a way, so much so that it hurts them, and it pisses them off for one thing, but it also makes them feel small, or like they're not intelligent. And I really don't want to go through life thinking that I know something about someone that I really don't know until I ask. And you know, you know, I don't want to come across at you and say, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" That's, I guess, I mean, that's the abrupt way to do it. And now there's a couple ways in staring I'm going to get into as well, Nikki. That's a good point. Um, People are afraid of what they don't understand. Um, that is a common thread between people and people with disabilities. Now, do we need to bridge that gap? The answer to that question is yes. Okay, do we need to bridge the gap between the disability community and the ambulatory community, the people that walk? It doesn't mean that we're different. It doesn't mean that we're the same. It does mean that we do things differently, or we get things done in a different way. But going back to what I was saying, you cannot just sit there and say, "Oh, my friend broke her leg and she was in a chair too." There are differences, okay? Now, you may be able to relate in that way, okay, but just because your friend broke her leg, or your friend was in a car accident, or your sister, got T-boned, and I'm sorry to hear that, but that's not the same as a person with a disability that's been in the chair their whole life. I really, I'm not trying to offend people in this, but I do want to say, you cannot keep people from getting hurt. And I'm not. The hard part about this is developing tough skin on both sides, because if you want to communicate with somebody that doesn't have a disability to someone who does, there's going to be some of that. Oh, I don't like the way that was said, and you can come out and say, "Hey, if the person in the chair wants to be treated normally, and they want to be asked a question normally, just say, look, if you've got a question, ask me." And look, if a person doesn't know how to ask a question about a disability, they can come out and say, "Look, this is going to sound strange, but I don't know how to ask this question, and I don't want to come off rude or disrespectful." That's one of the greatest ways. Acknowledging that you don't know is okay. Acknowledging that you don't understand disability is okay, because then the person that is in the chair or in the device that they use or in the walker or walking with a limp or have one arm or have one leg, they can somewhat prepare themselves for what is about to happen. Okay? So don't assume. You cannot say a person walking down the street, has one leg and they're walking on one crutch or two crutches. Oh, did you lose your leg in the war? Look, let's avoid making it uncomfortable. And if don't make that the first topic. Don't make their disability the first topic. They know that their disability is there. Okay, the person that you're talking to knows their disability is there. They can't hide it. Okay, some of them may not have dealt with it yet. Some of it may be a big process. Let's go through a couple of the comments that we've got here. Josh said this: I always say, feel free to ask questions, but please don't assume. That's a great point, Josh, and that's kind of just what we were talking about. If you want to ask a question, please feel free to ask it. And if you don't know, say, look, I really don't know about this. I'm trying to learn. I've never dealt with a person with a disability before. I don't want to seem standoffish or rude or like I know everything. Sometimes you just have to admit what you don't know or you don't understand. Nikki said this: just because we are in a wheelchair doesn't mean we don't have a personality. And I'm going to get into that one a little bit more later too. I kind of touched on that just a bit earlier, but that's a great point right there, Nikki. Cindy said this: when someone has stared at me, I have just told them to take a picture. It would last longer. Humor. Now that one right there will ice break a situation in a second. Okay. I have dealt with people, all kinds of people with disabilities. Now, there are some disabilities that I don't know about. One of them is autism. I don't know a lot about it, but the one thing that I know about autism and the one thing that I understand about autism is, young or old, the person that has autism has to let you in to their world. You can't just go up and start talking to them or go up and get in their space automatically, because that might freak them out. You want to communicate with them, but you don't want to run up to them and grab them, because they may punch you in the mouth. It's just the way it is. If you get into a person's space, give a person that has a disability space. You don't have to be all up on them trying to touch them and pray for them and all that. I'm going to get into praying for them too. That's another one I'm going to talk about a little later. I don't mind prayer, but you ain't got to pray for me every time you see me. Keep your hands to yourself. Thank you very much. I'm just saying. Let me go back a little bit. Talking about humor, understand, I have messed with people to the point where they're laughing so hard they're crying. And honestly, I love it, because when you make somebody laugh, it makes something that, like talking about an uncomfortable situation to them, or talking about disability or understanding disability, so much easier. So many people have asked me, why am I in a chair or what happened? A lot of times I get the what happened to you question. That's a main one that I get. I'm like, oh, what do you mean, the chair? I'm like, yeah, it was pretty tragic. I was in a bungee jumping accident. Yeah, the beginning was smooth, the middle was smooth, but the ending was concrete. I say, yeah, I jumped out of a plane and my parachute didn't open. And I look at their face. I go, no, it did open. It just opened too late. And they laugh and they look like, really? They have that moment of, oh my God, did you just really say that? And it honestly, it breaks the ice for them, because they realize that you are showing that personality that Nikki alluded to earlier. Just because we have a disability doesn't mean we don't have a personality. A great point by Sean right here. When somebody already knows the individual and they're not sure of what they are capable what they are capable or not capable of doing. It is very rude and offensive on so many levels when they just assume and take away the opportunity for them without consulting them, the actual disabled individual, first, and letting them know to speak for themselves. All right, so Sean just jumped into something. Again, I'm going to cover a lot of aspects about disability in this show. Okay, a person with a disability often can communicate for themselves. And I one of the most humiliating things that has happened to me in my era of being having cerebral palsy and going through life is somebody trying to order for me. Or someone, the waitress or waiter will come up and say, "What'll he have?" Now, see me, I'm the type of person that'll take my fork and jab them in the arm and go, "I'll have a cheeseburger," and they'll freak out because I'm like, I will stand up for myself, no pun intended. People need to realize, don't think that just because we have a disability, we don't have our own way of communicating. And it's, when you take away something that a person with a disability can do for themselves, and Josh, I love that. Josh said Josh said I fell off a bridge. Great point here. Siobhan, oh, beautiful point. It is unfortunate, however, even in 2021, we still have people who buy into the stereotypes that a disabled person is. You would be surprised, or possibly not just, you would be surprised, or possibly not just how many people truly believe that they've seen on TV or comedy shows or skits and what have you about a person with disabilities, and they turn around and get their feelings hurt when they realize that we have more personality than they thought in a colorful way. And those of you that know me know that I don't have a filter. And to be honest, Shiva, I gotta say this. Honesty right here is so powerful. And this is where being honest with an individual that doesn't know is going to help them. Now, we with disabilities have to have some understanding, okay? It's a two-way street. And I'm going to say this is new for some people, okay? We talked about cerebral palsy on several platforms. We talked about it on Kelly's Choice. We talked about it on radio shows. We talk about it on Wheels Talk with Shayna. We talk about it on Sunshine on Wheels. We talk about it on the Disabled Experience, the CP Chronicles with Kyle and Christina. Bibiana talks about it on her show on Thursday mornings. We have to understand that when it is new for people to address someone with a disability or communicate with someone with a disability, sometimes there's going to be an awkwardness there that we don't want. Okay, but realize, I think both people really don't want it, but it's the way we address it when you first break the ice that can turn the conversation good or bad. And I'm going to get some more of your comments in just a minute. I haven't forgotten, but I want to get some of these points across. Say what you want to say, but say it with kindness. Don't say it with anger, okay? When you're trying to address a person that doesn't know about disability, don't take everything so seriously. Don't take everything to heart. Don't take everything that they're against you, okay? They may stare because they think you're cute, okay? They may stare because they don't know. They may stare because they're trying to process in their brain what the heck they're seeing. Maybe they've never seen a power chair before. I know it's awkward. But in the same sense, we've got to look at both sides of the street that we're walking on. Again, no pun intended. JP Jackson, this is good here too. Happened to me on Saturday. All all conversation was directed to the person I was with, even if the subject was me. I understand that a disability is going to be a topic of conversation. But if you're uncomfortable talking about it, ask the person, are you uncomfortable talking about disability? Have you ever been around or dealt with someone that has a disability before? That will help them and let them know it's okay. Say to them, I understand that you haven't dealt with, or you may not have dealt with, a person with a disability. I'm not going to bite your hand off. Make it easier for them to understand, so it is okay. Good point here, Nikki. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I always say adapt, adjust, and modify. That works very, very well in every situation. And people need to realize that needs to happen in conversation also. Well, DJ, I know I'm beautiful. I give them the same crazy look back. And some people stare and they don't really realize they're doing it because they do it out of habit. We had Miss Winnie had a conference. I believe it was about 2 or 3 years now. I've been doing the show for so long. And one of the board members was a mom, and she had done a speech on staring. And she put it in such a way that it made you think about, especially with a child, when an adult sees a child with a disability and they're staring, and then the child will turn and stare right back. And here's the thing. Eyeballs creep me out, and I'll be honest. I didn't develop a lazy eye with CP until I was older and later in life. Okay, but the eyeball thing creeps me out. So when I see one eye go one way and one eye go the other way, I cannot help but go toward that eye that is freaking out. Now, being that I have CP and I know what that lazy eye is, I have trained myself to try to look at the good one, because I don't. But there are points where I go, oh God, I need to look at something different. So I'm not staring. I'm not trying to stare. Sometimes it happens to me too, and I'm not trying to do it. It just occurs. People are human and people make mistakes, but we have to learn to adjust with what's going on. Kids stare all the time. Then you see parents freak out and try to pull the kid away in embarrassment. It doesn't bother me when a little kid stares. I try to use it as a teaching tool. Let's see. Under a certain age, you're allowed to ask me a question you want about my disability. Of course, I will answer with the context of the age of the child that is asking the question. I wish some parents would just let it happen. Children are naturally curious. They want to find out what it is, how it works. They want to ride in the store. I'm telling you, it happens to me all the time. I see a little girl, see a little guy walking around. What is that? What do you use it for? Why don't your legs work? That's a basic question. If people can't answer that question from a child, look at yourself and ask yourself, have you accepted your own disability? Okay. Kids are going to ask the only way they know how, based on the age they are and based on the way they brought up. If we don't like the way it sounds, maybe we need to think about what age is the child? Okay. Where are they coming from? What are they trying to find out? Yes, I do as well. When they try to pull away the child, I ask them if they have any questions. Then usually the kids will start asking questions. I love it. The innocence of a child will bring out more questions, and it makes people comfortable to be able to ask it because they care. They want to know, and they want to understand what the chair is and how the chair works and what makes it go. And, and those sometimes the parents learn from the children more than the children learn from the parents, because the kids are the one asking the questions the parents want to know. And it's freaky because you can't be scared of a person with a disability. We have got to get over this fear of oh my God, that person looks different. This person does not look like me, does not walk like me, does not talk like me, does not look as good as me, because daggone, I look good today, don't I, y'all? But look, I'm trying to, what I'm trying to say is, you can, a disability does not have a look. Please, please, please understand that all disabilities in the known world are what they are. It doesn't mean that that disability has a look. Okay, even Down syndrome, there are characteristic traits that happen, but it doesn't mean that it happens all the time. Okay, and it. I want to throw this one out there, and I told you we were going to cover a lot of topics on this show about disability. If you see a person with a disability that drools, please don't freak out. Okay? The jaw is a muscle. It has to be strengthened. Sometimes the saliva and all the stuff in there, sometimes they have to be suctioned. Sometimes they drool and their shirt looks like a swimming pool, and I understand it's a freaky situation. Ain't nobody gonna drool on you. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to go up to them and clean them up. Nothing like that. But you can still talk to them, and you can still treat them with respect and go, "Hi, how are you? I hope you're having a good day," and watch them smile at you. Do you understand what a smile does? Do you understand what a smile is and how much a smile opens up a conversation? When a person feels respected, that you talk to, Lord have mercy, y'all got the comments coming in so fast I can't read them. Woo! Help me, Jesus. All right. But a smile will break a conversation of uneasiness just like that. That's why Miss Winnie always says, smile every day, because you smile at someone every day, because you never know who you may bless. Now, I want to address two issues right now. Before, let me read a couple of comments here as they come up. Tiffany Jackson said this: "Yes, DJ, I totally agree, and I get it all the time. Can I have a ride?" And the parents always are saying no, and I just tell the parents, I put them on my lap, and then the parents have to fight with them to get them down when I'm done. Trust me, I have that. And you know what? I love that. Because making a child smile and making a kid happy and getting them with an easiness to talk to a person and bridging the gap to talk to a person with a disability is the goal of this. This is what we all beautiful comment, Nikki. I love this. We are all the same. We just have unique abilities, and we have a unique way of doing things. Siobhan says, very good point. I love you, Siobhan. You are so awesome. And JP, people with Down syndrome are awesome. They are the social butterflies that are accepting of all people. Let me just comment on what JP just said. If we could take a second, I think when you approach a person with a disability, slow down and take a breath. That's the first thing you do. Slow down and take a breath. Do not be afraid to engage that person. Ask them how their day is going and see what happens. Ask a basic question that is not about their disability, and you can get to eventually the part of the conversation that is about their disability. All right. Let me go ahead and move forward a little bit, because we're getting, I want to make sure to cover all the points that I've got. So I've covered assumptions. I've covered communication barriers. I've covered, all right, so do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts of disability. And I get this question more about my disability everywhere. I get it in the store. I get it on the street. I get it in the Walmart. I get it in the food line. I get it when I'm getting a drink. And people will just come up and ask me out of the blue this question. Before I get to that, let me read Sean's comment. What language I find acceptable and respectful may not always be the case for other individuals. Make sure to always be mindful and ask the individual how they want to be addressed directly or anything involving certain aspects of their disabilities, just like you would anybody else. They were talking about things where people really does have the power to heal, hurt, or heal. Very true. Oh no, I know where this is going. All right, yep. So, all right. So JP knows where we're at. Nikki says to meet a person with cerebral palsy, have a conversation. We are friendly. Yes. Siobhan, please don't assume that we're all dumb and stupid people. Again, you mess around and get your feelings hurt by me. Okay, DJ, I am one. I'm going to behave. At least I'm going to try. All right, we just got Kyle in, so let me bring in my big bro for just a minute. There he is right there. Hey, Kyle, welcome.
I apologize to
that's all right,
you, DJ, and the listeners and viewers on the show about etiquette. This is pretty bad etiquette.
No, man, you're perfectly fine. You came in for the last half hour. I told him, got the new job and doing some stuff for work. So congratulations.
And it did not go according to plan.
Oh, man. Well,
that's all.
Well, and let's, and I want to, what a great point, Nikki. And these comments are just coming in left and right, man. I want to say this, and the question that I get everywhere is, can you have sex and does everything work? There is a time and place to ask a certain question. Communication etiquette is the same thing as if you're asking the question of why you're in a chair. You can get to that question, but bridge the gap. If you don't know the person and you're like, hey, does your stuff work? That is not. I actually had a person in the store. I was getting some cheese fries, and they literally came up to me, got down at my level, looked at me like I was some sort of crazy alien, and said, hey, can you have kids? I said, well, I can help make them, but I can't have them.
You can't give birth to them.
And I thought they were going to fall on the floor. Look,
well, the grocery store in the middle of the produce aisle is not the time to ask me about my bedroom habits and what I can do.
Again, that's again etiquette. Where's the question coming from? Sadly, I would have to say I somewhat disagree. We are not all friendly. I've met people with disabilities that are so bitter at the world and their situation that it just cannot be around them, because all it does is bring me down as well. You're going to have those kind of people.
Good point.
I talked about this earlier in the show. People have to be able to accept their own disability, okay? And if they have not, then there's going to be an issue with how they're communicating because they're struggling themselves, okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Sex question. I have got 2 children, and they ask me that question again. All right, so let me address this real quick. Just because we have CP or we have a disability, most disabilities are not genetic. You cannot catch them. They are not sexually transmitted. And I don't know where these doctors, this is what fires me up. Let me get fired up for 1 minute. I don't know where these doctors say to you, if you have CP, your child is probably going to have it. That is the biggest crock of loaded baked potato I've ever heard in my life, because cerebral palsy is caused by a lack of oxygen to the brain, and it does not mean that your child is going to have it. I know people with CP that have children with no disabilities at all. So I want to make that point very known. Don't assume that if you have cerebral palsy and you have children, your kids are going to have it.
I have a personal story that relates to that. My uncle asked me that question when I was dating Christina. So if you have children, are they going to have cerebral palsy? Now, mind you, this is my uncle who's known me my entire life. Mm-hmm. So it was someone that I wasn't prepared for that question, because I had assumed that he knew that it was not hereditary. Mm-hmm. But he did. He assumed that, he wondered, would we have kids with CP? And we could. You could. You can't say that you can't. There's always that possibility, because, again, CP is an accident, typically. That is why you have a lack of oxygen, whether the umbilical cord. I was born premature, so that was also a big thing.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people with cerebral palsy are born premature. Now, it doesn't mean that that's going to happen, but that's one of the major cases. I'm reading this comment, and JP said, I had someone at the grocery store one time ask if my stuff worked while I was reaching for the whipped cream in the freezer case.
Now, that's just funny, okay? Woo! Now, that's not the right place, but it's a funny place and a funny time. And I think you do have to find humor sometimes in people with poor etiquette. Because
and it's okay to ask those questions, but in the same sense, think about how you would feel before you ask the question. Okay, let's be honest. As a gay man, a very popular question for a disabled individual in the gay community, and I've become so
desensitized.
Desensitized by it that sometimes you have to be blunt, and that and sometimes that's the way to go. And I'm so glad we decided to do this show. You guys are awesome. These audience members, we've had like 11 or 12 people just nailing these questions.
I'm having a hard time keeping up, so just bear with me. But
it's but I want to ask you, Kyle, and if we've covered it already, that's fine. But how do you, when you find a person that has not dealt with disability and they're trying to ask you a question, but they're struggling, and that they're struggling, what do you do to make it easier for them?
I just tell them, it's okay. Ask the question how you want to ask it, and then we can work together on okay, even if it's a bad question, even if it's a bad worded question, I'd rather you ask, for someone who's trying, I'd rather you ask the question, so then I can give you an answer, but then also teach of okay, if you want to ask that again, maybe try it this way.
Right.
Because I don't think shaming people, but for asking questions because it's not always the case that they're trying to be mean. They're just misinformed or underinformed about something. So you have to be careful. It's a very fine line and balance of not shaming somebody for asking the question in the wrong way if their intentions are good. If you know that they're asking from a place of, I'm curious, I want to be educated, I want to be more informed, I want to know how to interact with you and others with disabilities, and these types of questions help me. If that's the case, then there's no shame in that, and you shouldn't be afraid to ask those types of questions. Now, if you're someone who with bad intentions, my response isn't going to be as friendly,
because you've got to nip it in the bud before it gets too bad. And here's the thing. There's two things I want to say before this. Man, this hour goes fast. All disabilities are not the same. and we are all human. Just take a minute, let that set in. We are all human. We all make mistakes. If people are unexposed, meaning they don't have exposure to a person with a disability, they're going to freak out. That some of these big power chairs that looks like monster trucks on steroids with lights and sounds and horns, and it stands up. And I had a kid ask me, was I a transformer? I turned around and said, Autobots, transform and roll out. He's like, he's Optimus Prime. That's so freaking cool. I mean, you got to take a moment and realize where people are coming from at the moment that they're asking the question. Okay.
And children, I would want to say children, that's the easiest. They can ask those silly questions because they don't know. And it's kind of up to us to be that exposure in a lot of cases, because maybe their parents don't know anyone with disabilities, and they're, if they're really young, just getting into school, they haven't really seen different types of people. So in those cases, it being humorous like that, you made that kid's day.
The problem, and I see where you're coming from, Kim, but contributing to the situation, even if they're wrong, in that way makes it worse. You can, like Kyle said, you can say to them, hey, instead of asking that way, do me a favor, try it this way. I'm a person. I'm a normal person just like you. Just because I have a disability doesn't make me any different. I just do things in a different way, because what we're trying to do is bridge the gap of communication, not add to it. But in the same situation, I know how you feel because I've done it too.
It's frustrating. I think it all boils down to where you are in your acceptance of yourself and your disability, that it's easier to handle those types of questions. Now, if someone asked me a very ignorant question when I was 16, I would probably have flipped without even really thinking about trying to educate, because that's not where my head was. Now at 27, I can, navigate those types of questions.
The other part about it is look at the level of maturity that they're approaching with. Okay. Some people are on a different level when it comes to asking a question. Some people are just on a different way altogether, in asking a question. And it's some people don't have people skills. And it's not that they're trying to be disrespectful or rude. It's the only way they know. It's not that, some people are so underinformed or not informed at all that they don't know because they've never encountered it. And see, I feel like with all the new disabilities that are coming out, other disabilities are getting pushed back. CP used to be on the forefront. Now we've got Down syndrome, Alzheimer's, autism, all these things that are out. MS, you've got, you've got Lou Gehrig's disease. All of these disabilities that are different, and it makes it hard, because what they're trying to do is blend them in and say, oh, this is like this, and he has this because of this. They're trying to contrast and compare, and you really don't want to do that, because each disability is its own. Right.
Disability is not simple, and you can't use blanket statements, because even with CP, I mean, me and DJ, we have the same disability. It affects us differently. We have different experiences every day with the same disability. We can relate on a lot of stuff, but he teaches me things and I teach him things. That's what you have. Like, we're all unique.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. All right. So let me before I read these last couple of comments that came in, let me give you a moment that I had where I literally bit my tongue and went, oh my God, did I just do that? My friend Blake has cerebral palsy. Okay. He's able to walk. He walks with a limp. When I first met Blake, we were talking, and we were just, had a lot of fun playing games. And I met Blake, and I was talking to him on the phone. I'm like, Blake, you were born with CP, right? And I went, oh my God, did I just ask that? And he starts laughing because he knew what I was trying to ask. But it just came out, Blake, you were born with CP. He goes, no, I caught it from falling out of a tree. And I'm like, oh my God, did I just ask that question? Like, sometimes you have those mental lapses. So a couple of comments here. Liz Rogers said this. I used to be embarrassed. The ambassador of camp. Wait a minute. Any would be touched at how much they don't know. I have to educate them. Yeah, people do have to be educated, and I do understand that. That's very true. Sean said this. I think the situation all depends on, exactly like Kyle said, where you are in your own self-acceptance, but it also depends on what kind of day you've been having. Maybe you've reached your limit with dealing with ignorance, and people don't have good intent. Yeah, that's true too. Some people just have a bad day. Some people are just at the end of their rope and can't take it no more.
Yeah, and you're allowed to have bad days, because I try to be a positive person as much as possible. But that doesn't mean I'm always positive. That just but I like to consider myself a positive person, generally. But there are bad days where I'm like, I can't.
Got to turn it off, got to shut it down, got to back up and be like, I can't deal with it. We're going to get into that in just a minute. In terms of research, I believe CP gets the short end of the stick, especially if you are an adult.
Yes.
Real quick, yes, we have said that so many times before. With cerebral palsy, all the kids, children, once they get 18, boy,
good luck.
They crush that mess. You can't. It is very difficult to find things for adults or children, the people over 18, to really keep it going.
Yeah. Thankfully, I was lucky, and I say lucky enough that my doctor saw me until I was 23, before he was like, okay, there's not much, come back as an as-needed basis. But then that became a whole other thing that we don't have time for.
And this comment right here, yes, DJ and Kyle, they don't know, and it's really sad. Maturity and respect is definitely something very lacked these days with children, and it's not just that. It's what the children are taught by the parents. If the parents don't know and they're trying to teach the children something, how in the world are they going to figure it out? Now, let me go into this. We got about 10 minutes left on the show, 12 minutes left on the show. We might have 13 to 14 because I might go 2 minutes over, because this is such a good show right here. And we got so many comments coming in. Lord have mercy. People are allowed to have not okay days. Understand, some days when every muscle in your body hurts and you can't move, sometimes you just got to go, this sucks. I can't stand it. I'm so mad. I can't deal with it. Sometimes you're going to have a bad day. Okay. Now, let me say this. You're going to get more flies with honey than you are with vinegar. So remember, talking about words and how you react. Words can hurt people as much as it can cutting them. So words are powerful, and what is said is very powerful. To this day, I was called ballerina because I am a toe walker. And you know what? That's a beautiful thing.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Be the best ballerina you can be, and don't even need a tutu. I got a.
You're a natural ballerina.
That's right. I got a tutu on right now. It's a little tight in the shoulders, and otherwise not too bad. Don't worry, y'all. I'm not really wearing a tutu. I'm just letting you know. But some things, and don't be afraid to listen to this, guys. Disabilities are beautiful. Think about that. And I've said this, and a lot of people will look at me and go, you're crazy. Some people will will not understand this, and some will. I consider my disability a blessing. My disability has taught me how to slow down, take a step back, and realize that I value things. I value to look up at the sky and the clouds, and I value conversations that I have about disability, and I value that people want to know about me and why the things are the way they are. I don't mind answering that. Okay, my lunch hour is over. Love you guys. Keep doing what you do, DJ. Siobhan, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.
We love you. You are awesome, awesome, awesome. You use honey on my job. Okay. Not with the babies, because then they get sticky. Then you got to clean them, and I'm not cleaning my son when he's full of honey. We're not going there. Right? So I want to bring this up. I want to thank everybody that have been part of this show, because your comments are awesome. This show is one of the most interactive shows I've had. Thank you guys for your prayers and concerns. Last week I went on vacation. I didn't really go anywhere, but I
took a mental vacation.
I took a mental break, and I had to do that. And that's the last thing I want to cover, is the mental part of the disability. And this doesn't get covered a lot. Walking was easier when I was a toe walker. Now that it's corrected, it's actually more difficult. But I think a lot of that has to do with the age at this point. Okay. Last couple of comments here. Disabilities are a unique filter of the world, and they make you see the true real beauty or true real ugly. Nikki said, I feel like cerebral palsy gets put on the back burner, and all you have awareness about is autism, but I feel like cerebral palsy gets absolutely no awareness. It's over. It's so over. It's you.
Oh, she's saying she's so over it.
Yeah, I'm so over it. Yeah, we do matter, and we have to realize. But now let's go back to the mental aspect for just a second. I want to specify the importance of having somebody to talk to when you have a disability. It doesn't matter what type of disability you have. Everybody needs somebody sometime. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot to carry by yourself.
You are not alone. You are not by yourself. There are hundreds of groups and hundreds of thousands of people that are out there that need to be talked with, that need a friend, that feel isolated, that feel scared, that feel like they're not wanted. And I'm not just talking about trying to bring you down with bad stuff. Somebody just needs somebody to vent sometimes. Like we said, Kyle and I learn from each other, okay? Kyle and I learn, and just like I told him when I said, if you can't make the show today, no problem. I'll send you the link. It is what it is. Jump in when you can. Stuff comes up. You got to be ready to deal with it as it is. And when I have that day where I say, Kyle, I can't take it no more. What's wrong, brother? And we sit down, because that's what we do.
Because you do that. I mean, like, you get to your end of your rope, and it's like, I got to tell it to somebody. Like, you have to release it to move forward.
This one is a big one right here. And we're going to do a part 2 on this in a couple of weeks. And I'll put out the flyer. Maybe I'll do the part 2 with Kyle if he's up for it, since he wasn't able to do the first one.
Yeah, I'd love to come back and really.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2 on this on CP Etiquette. I got off most of the dating sites because of they will ask the sex questions before they know my name. I don't do online dating, and I'm going to explain why. There's 2 reasons. With online dating, when it comes to a disability, 99% of the time, the people are not who they say they are. Until I meet the person first in a public place with backup, I will not do a dating site.
And I think it's hard to express who you are as someone with a disability on a dating site effectively or fully, because if you have pictures of yourself in your wheelchair, your walker, your crutches, whatever, a lot of times people, that's what they see, and they're like, no, and they don't get to know the person. All they see is disability, or at least that's my view on it. Will they see me or the disability first?
Look, and that's, let me address that question. Me or the disability? Understand, your disability is part of who you are. If they cannot accept that, listen to me now. If they cannot accept who you are, then they can't accept your disability either.
Right. Well, that's what I just mean. People are so instant to judge. Oh, he uses arm crutches. Nix that when it's like you're missing out. You're missing out. If that's what you're basing this on, you're missing out.
I feel like being on dating sites, they don't get to see the real, authentic you, and that leads to massive assumptions, which leads to greater troubles. And that's also part of the reason why I left the dating site as well, because I was tired of being dealing with specific questions like I was nothing but a sex object. Guys, I'm going to have to do another, this is, we're getting into some hard stuff here, okay? And this is what this show is all about. I want to reiterate that we are people. We are human race people. We deserve love, respect, honor, to be cherished, to be held, to be concerned for, to be great friends. Friends first. Friends first. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let the alarm know. Great comment by Kim right here. I am glad now I am with my man that accepts me for me. Because if I dated someone without a disability, they didn't accept me for me. And sometimes that's the case. I had never really dated anybody with a disability before. Because I always asked the question, and this was the question that came to my mind, and we'll deal with this in part 2. If I can't take care of myself, how can I help take care of someone with a disability? But there are strengths and weaknesses where one person may be weak in one area, the other person can lift you up, and vice versa.
Yeah, so the right person, you will complement each other.
Yes,
the disability will not be an issue.
Man, this show is so good. Goodness gracious. JP Jackson. Hiding your disability in a potential relationship is often just wasting everybody's time. I've learned to be completely upfront with it on day one. The real people should be interested in who you are. The people can look past the immediate. If people can look past that immediately, they may have some questions, but they're just accepting. That's very true. Listen, guys, I hate to do this, but we're running out of time. We're going to have to continue this on part 2.
Come back for part 2 where I'll be here the whole time.
Yeah, man. And real quick, congratulations, man. I'm so proud of you, Kyle. I'm glad that all this, man, I know you had to go through heck and high water to get this done. So congratulations on the new job, man. Awesome job. Thank you for sticking with us, and thank you for being here and getting here. We love
Thank you for being so understanding.
Hey, man, I know life is life, brother, and I'm just glad to have you in mind. Listen, I love all you guys. If you guys would like to be a guest on the show, please contact me at carterdj85@gmail.com. If there's a topic that you'd like to talk about, please, you can email me. Send a message to the like page, My CP Does Not Define Me. YouTube, My CP Does Not Define Me. Twitter, My CP Does Not Define Me at Minion Sports. Chairmaster Games, and Cooking with DJ Carter Worth the Wait, Cooking with DJ Carter, one of those. I am so happy to do this show, episode 63. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the questions. Keep them coming. Check out Kyle, My Disabled Experience on YouTube. Over 10,000 views. He's kicking butt and taking names and all out of shoes. So we will see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. for episode 64 and a whole lot more of My CP Does Not Define Me. We will see you next week.
All right, everybody. that's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. But don't worry, you can catch us again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook and YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me. Remember, I'm your host, D to the J with the roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad. But be good at it. We'll see you next week.